Newscast, live and local, with Dion Guillory. This is 9 News at 5:30.
We begin streaming tonight at 5:30 with the latest in Portland, Oregon. Police say officers shot and injured a husband and wife during a targeted vehicle stop of people with suspected ties to a Venezuelan gang. Both victims are in the hospital, but their conditions are unclear at this hour. Gwen Baumgartner starts us off tonight.
Homeland Security officials have released the identities of the two people shot and injured by Border Patrol agents during a targeted vehicle stop in Portland.
It looks like Kohler saying that he was shot twice by ICE and his wife was shot as well.
In a statement on X Friday morning, DHS officials identified the driver as Luis David Nico Moncada and the passenger as Yorlenes Besabeth Zambrano Contreras. They say both were, quote, criminal illegal aliens and suspected associates of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang, adding the couple, quote, weaponized their vehicle against Border Patrol. The agent took immediate action to defend himself and others, shooting them.
We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past.
According to DHS, the pair then fled the scene. The victims called 911 and were found more than 2 miles from where the incident happened and were taken to the hospital. While local leaders here in Portland are calling for calm, they're also demanding that ICE halt all of its operations in the city until the investigation is complete.
Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents.
We do not need you. You're not welcome. And you need to get the hell out of our community.
The incident comes just 1 day after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis, sparking protests across the country.
It's just been chaos. People, the community is trying to get answers.
I'm saddened that we are here once again in a difficult, challenging, complex situation.
Demonstrators are planning to gather again outside the ICE facility in Portland in the wake of the shootings. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Portland.
More than 100 Customs and Border Protection agents from operations in New Orleans and Chicago are heading to Minnesota following that deadly shooting of 37-year-old mother of 3. The New York Times reporting the Trump administration is pausing operations in Chicago to send agents to Minnesota. The administration is creating plans to send all non-lethal weapons from Chicago to agents in Minnesota. The surge of manpower will last through the weekend. Border Patrol agents will return to their previous cities on Sunday. The deployment comes as local officials are demanding immigration agents leave Minneapolis. And we're learning more about the two people at the center of Wednesday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis and getting a look at video taken by the agent involved. Usher Karashi is in Minneapolis with those details.
A moment of silence Friday for Renee Nicole Good from families and educators in Minneapolis, followed by calls for ICE to leave.
We want them out of our neighborhoods, out of our schools, and out of our state.
Friday, Good's wife gave a statement to Minnesota Public Radio saying in part, "We stopped to support our neighbors. We had whistles. They had guns." Vice President J.D. Vance reposted this video taken by the ICE agent and released by a media outlet called Alpha News.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
That's Good inside the SUV and her wife outside the vehicle talking to the ICE officer before the shooting.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Another officer orders Good out of the SUV and she starts to drive. Earlier Friday, Mayor Jacob Fry criticized the Trump administration's decision to remove state authorities from the shooting investigation.
This is not a time to hide from the facts. This is a time to embrace them, making sure that we're pushing for transparency every step of the way.
CBS News has confirmed the agent who shot Good is Jonathan Ross, who has worked with ICE in Minnesota for nearly a decade and was involved in another vehicle-related incident last June. Court documents show he was dragged approximately 100 yards with his arm inside a car while trying to execute an immigration warrant. Usher Qureshi, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Anti-government protests intensifying across Iran tonight. It comes after mass demonstrations rocked Tehran and other cities. Authorities responded by cutting internet and telephone lines in major Iranian cities, fueling fears of a brutal crackdown. President Donald Trump warned against that, threatening to attack Iran if security forces kill protesters. Iran's supreme leader blamed destruction on protesters who are trying to please Trump. The unrest started nearly 2 weeks ago over economic conditions in the nation. The organization Iran Human Rights is reporting at least 45 protesters have been killed. President Trump says the U.S. stands to make a lot of money off Venezuelan oil, and he wants American oil companies to go in and spend at least $100 million to refurbish that country's industry to get the oil flowing again. Erica Brown has more details from Capitol Hill.
President Trump hosted executives from some of America's biggest oil companies at the White House Friday to discuss investments in Venezuela and rebuilding its oil industry.
If we make a deal, how long would it take you to get in there and get started?
We can hit the ground within the next couple of weeks.
The meeting comes as the U.S. continues to carry out its blockade of ships linked to Venezuela carrying sanctioned oil.
We have an armada, a giant armada like nobody's ever seen in that part of the world, and it's stationed off the coast.
U.S. military forces seized a fifth oil tanker called the Alina in the Caribbean Friday morning. President Trump has also not ruled out taking military action against other countries like Mexico to stop the flow of drugs coming into the U.S.
We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water, and we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says she's ordered her foreign minister to speak with Secretary of State Marco Rubio to strengthen coordination between the two countries. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
President Trump says he's canceling a second wave of attacks on Venezuela. In this social media post, he says the country's government is cooperating with the U.S. Trump cites a prisoner release and collaboration around Venezuela's oil reserves. The president says U.S. ships will remain in the area for now. His post comes a day after the Senate signaled a desire to limit Trump's military power in Venezuela. Lawmakers are considering a bill to require congressional approval for certain actions in that country. Breaking tonight, the United States military seizing another oil tanker in the Caribbean. U.S. Southern Command officials made that announcement today. This move comes after the U.S. seizure of 2 Venezuela-linked tankers this week. Those include a Russian-flagged vessel in the Atlantic Ocean and another tanker in the Caribbean. The White House says earlier this week that President Trump was, quote, not afraid to continue seizing sanctioned oil tankers, even despite concerns it could ratchet up tensions with Russia and China. The House passed a bill that would extend health care enhanced subsidies for 3 years. Now, those expired at the end of last year. A total of 17 Republicans joined Democrats in passing the measure. It was brought to the House floor as a result of a discharge petition, but the House vote was mostly symbolic, but gets members on record. The measure is not expected to advance in the Senate. A small group of centrists in both chambers have been working on a subsidies measure they believe could get the votes they need to reach the president's desk. The Trump administration is being sued by 5 Democratic-led states. A coalition comprised of California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York is asking a court to halt a funding freeze from the White House. Officials at the 5 states say this move is unconstitutional and violates law and regulations linked to federal aid programs. The lawsuit is being led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, who says the administration has not given any, quote, legitimate justification for stopping those funds. A Virginia man pleaded not guilty to federal charges for allegedly planting pipe bombs in D.C. ahead of the January 6th insurrection. The D.C. federal court arraignment for Brian J. Cole Jr. took place over a month after he was initially charged. That's in part because a grand jury wasn't in court over the holidays to hear the case. When asked how he would like to plead to the charges, Cole said, quote, not guilty. Cole has been detained since his arrest, though his attorneys are attempting to have the federal judge assigned to the case review the judge's decision to keep Cole behind bars. His next hearing is scheduled for January 28th. Luigi Mangione appeared in a New York City courtroom as his lawyers try to bar the Justice Department from seeking the death penalty in his federal trial for the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione's attorneys are set to argue he shouldn't face capital punishment if convicted. They want the judge to drop the charge of murder through use of a firearm. That carries the death penalty. The defense and prosecution disagree on a technical interpretation of the statute. Mangione's attorneys also want the judge to throw out a firearms charge. New Labor Department data shows the U.S. entered 2026 still recovering from a major economic slowdown. Some experts say job growth stalled in 2025, even as the president maintains that the economy is strong. Stephen Goen explains.
With the December jobs report, we now have a full picture of 2025, and the data shows last year had the weakest annual jobs growth in decades. The U.S. economy added 50,000 jobs in December, according to that latest jobs report, while unemployment was down slightly at 4.4% compared to a revised 4.5% from last month. With those new numbers, we now know the U.S. economy only added 584,000 jobs in 2025. In fact, the data shows last year saw the weakest annual jobs growth since 2003. That excludes outlier data from 2020 and 2021, when millions of jobs were lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For the year, the healthcare industry and social assistance were the biggest drivers of job growth. In a statement, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, putting the blame on the Trump administration for slow growth, their chief economist says, quote, "This labor market is frozen with very little hiring as businesses cannot make long-term plans in an uncertain environment." So overall, a tough year for job seekers. In 2025, the number of people looking for a job but not finding one up by 397,000. In Washington, I'm Stephen Goen.
Stephen, thank you. Millions of Americans have defaulted on their student loans, and now the government may take part of their paychecks. As of September, more than 45 million Americans held outstanding student loans, totaling $1.67 trillion. This week, the Department of Education is sending out notices that could impact millions who've defaulted.
What the government is doing is they're saying, hey, you owe us a bunch of money. We're going to take some money back from you. How? We are going to garnish your wages.
And that could be up to 15% of someone's paycheck, or even cost student loan borrowers part of their tax return. For older Americans, the government could take a piece of their Social Security payments. Swiss officials, joined by the presidents of France and Italy, held a tribute ceremony for the victims of a fire at a Swiss ski resort bar. Close family members of those killed attended the service holding white roses. You may remember the New Year's Eve fire killed 40 people, injured 116 others. More than half of those who died were minors. A South Carolina midwife who dedicated her life's work to preventing maternal deaths died from childbirth complications earlier this month. Dr. Janelle Green Smith was 31 years old. She was a midwife and career advocate for maternal health care. Her family and friends said she dedicated her life to advocating for maternal health care and preventing deaths from childbirth complications, especially in black women. Studies have shown that the United States continues to have the highest maternal death rate among developed nations, with the numbers for black women being particularly concerning, especially here in Louisiana. A single mother from Oklahoma is planning her own funeral. After doctors gave her just weeks to live, she set up a GoFundMe to raise money for her own final expenses and to provide for her children. Jade Morrow has that story.
I can't, it's not like something on her knee, like she's fallen on her knee and I can just put a Band-Aid on it. I can't do it. I can't fix this. I have to let her fight this herself. And I can't take it away from her. And it doesn't, it's hard. It's hard every day to have to sit and watch her go through that.
28-year-old Kaylin Goff was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer 3 years ago and has been fighting for normalcy ever since.
She still went, she still did her hair, her makeup, her nails, and everything. You would not even have known. Never felt sorry for herself or anything through the whole thing. She just went on and did it.
But just 2 weeks before Christmas, all of that changed for Kaylin when the cancer spread to her brain and bones.
There's just nothing they can do for her. It's spread that much. They've already done 5 different cycles of chemotherapy on her. There's no more because her body can't handle it, because of the congestive heart failure and things like that.
Kaylin was told she has 6 weeks to live. Only 6 weeks left with her family and her 2 children.
It's a hard thing, especially here we are. You never think you'll end up at this spot right like where we are, and she never thought she would either. You know, we thought we'd beat it. And now we're planning a funeral. So, and it's just heartbreaking.
Kaylin has issued a GoFundMe that will go towards her own funeral expenses and her 2 young children, something her mother, Myra, said shows the type of person Kaylin is.
She still wants to be able to look out for them and try to plan for their future, and I thought that it was nice that she actually did that.
From the beginning of Kaylin's fight until now, her mother says her faith has played a huge part in her perseverance, something that has inspired her and her family.
If she doesn't complain for what she's going through, why do we gotta complain, you know? Yep, absolutely. She inspires us all to do that, especially me. She's my little hero is what she is.
All right, when we come back, Henry Blakes is standing by with your weekend for